Welcome to the MegaloDon Podcast. I am Maggie, and of MaggiesBoast.com, and I am with my husband, Don. So I just wanted to give you a little information about this podcast. This is our very first one. We've already recorded it once, as my husband was saying earlier, but we are going again. We're going to give this another try the right way. It was like practice. So for our podcast, Thinking MegaloDon, I'm just going to refer to my notes so I make sure I mention everything here, but we are finally sharing our voice again, and this is on many topics. There's only like a few I'm going to name off, but there's so many more, and it's spirituality, it's twin flames, it's aliens, it's UFOs, shadow work, living life, so much more. There's so much more going on with that. So MegaloDon is an ancient, very large, extinct shark. And in its name are both my name, my nickname with my family is Meg, but everyone calls me Maggie, and then Don. So thinking about MegaloDon itself and the universe as a whole, it's a rare, ginormous beauty. We couldn't possibly fathom the size and the content of it, let alone the universe. So there's so much more to share with you here. It will be fun and lighthearted. We'll get into some deep topics, as well as meaningful and thought-provoking subjects. So we hope to bring on guests from time to time as well. We used to have a blog talk radio show that we had several guests on for, I don't even know how long. We had it running for maybe a year, maybe more.
No, it was longer than a year.
It was longer than a year.
It was like not quite 3 years. It was something.
3 years. My time,
3 years.
Time and space is of no essence. So, but we hope to bring on some guests from time to time, and we're back at it again from having taken, I don't even know, has it been like 15 years sabbatical from doing a radio show of any sort or podcast.
2011 was the last one we did.
So was it 2011? So where are we now?
2023.
So
Almost, actually.
I
Tomorrow's New Year's Eve, 2020.
12 years ago.
2024 is a couple of days away.
13 years ago. 13's a good number. So, and I hear our doggy barking at probably coyotes because the sun has set and the coyotes come out. So anyway, for the podcast, for any time, share your questions, share your topic ideas. We'd love to hear your feedback, everything. We are playing around and refining our lighting, our sound all the time. Dawn is the tech here for that. So I'm just here and enjoying sharing our discussion.
We'll take feedback and let us know, even if it's like, we like the weird shit, right? So, but if there's something like even that touches that's more on the mundane side too, like it's kind of more like human interest, like. You can't help but talk about what's going on in the world that everybody's aware of, but like we just kind of take the deep dive on some of those things. And so we realized that we've just been sharing more in conversation with each other and less on, like, I've been using social media almost not at all in the last year. I'll post something once in a while. It's mostly like photo dumps and things like that. And I check in to see like how people are doing, but like I haven't felt the need to express myself so much on social media. It's like everything has been heard. So but like, in conversation,
this is a cool way for us to connect just in our marriage.
Yeah, that's what we do when we're not.
We're like, we need to start sharing this stuff. This is good stuff.
Yeah, because we like when other people are like on fire about stuff too, and we know that people feel like they're on eggshells a little bit around other people. So it's kind of like, all right, well, let's not worry about any of that. Let's, we can talk about whatever we want on this. And it's not for everyone. It's definitely not for everyone. I promise
that's the thing. We might tap onto a subject that you wouldn't agree with everything we're saying, but that's okay. It's okay if you disagree, but maybe you're still enjoying the conversation, and that's cool. We're not going to agree on everything that you agree on, and you're not going to agree on everything we agree. Like, it's
not even about that.
We're human, and we're just having this conversation as a way to uplift ourselves and others. But
you don't have to plant your flag anywhere. It's just like, oh, this is what I think about this right now, and then you might say something that either I go, oh crap, I didn't think about that. And then, well, we do, but we do it in a civil manner most of the time.
Most of the time.
Sometimes she thinks to throw, but.
They're only crystals.
Call me Donald Duck.
So our topic for this podcast, we wanted to chat about twin flames. It's been a topic that synchronistically keeps coming up, and we've wanted to just have, even if we just talk for a few minutes and then we go off on another subject, that's cool. But we wanted to talk about what that twin flame means. And we were spurred on, of course, with some what do they call them? Documentaries, right? So the documentaries out there, there's been a couple on specifically a couple who are offering twin flame services, we'll call it. But they're taking advantage of people who are very trusting. I'm a very trusting, gullible person. I will believe you until I get proof otherwise. And or right, like most of the time, like unless something really pulls at that
I'll give you more credit
chakra.
than that. I'll give you more credit than that. No, you've been very, you stood your ground rather well on certain things that, I'm not going to get into like what the topic is, but like it's not that hard to figure out, but like when you start out with a little bit of information, you get as much of that information as you can, but that's not all the information. So you're going to look at whatever, somebody's saying this and then somebody else is saying that. You've been very willing to hear everybody out on whatever the topic is, and then you make your opinion, but then you don't go, okay, that's it, that's the hill I'm going to die on. Somebody else comes with another perspective, like weeks later I've seen you go, there's a new dimension to this I didn't consider, and I try to do that the best I can too. And that's all I think most people are cool with that, but I think if we zoom out for a second, just the topic of twin flames, so these documentaries we've been watching, there's a lot of charlatans in the world, and while Maggie will paint a picture of herself as gullible, it just means she's very trusting, but she's like, there are people who will take advantage of people who really are just like, it's not that they're necessarily gullible, but they're lost, they're looking to find some kind of light in the fog that brings them in.
They found a teacher who knows a little more than them.
And any narrative can be abused, but like so the topic of twin flames in and of itself is like an ancient idea from older cultures. And so Maggie's going to talk a little bit about what the root of that is, but anybody can take anything and twist it. We've seen it with cults a million times, and any religion is technically a cult, but even a philosophy or an idealistic kind of whatever hill you will die on, there's a lot of truth in all of those different things, and I like to explore. I've read the Bhagavad Gita, I've read the Bible, I've read a lot of different things, and it's just I take away more of what they have in common than anything else. So not to get too far off topic, I just wanted to kind of zoom out and say, like, so that if you hear ding 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 when you hear the words twin flame, yeah, there's a lot of garbage out there with pick a topic. But we've been seeing, there's been 2 documentaries on this particular couple, if you haven't seen it, on Hulu and then on Netflix, I think. And but Maggie's going to kind of give us like the actual groundwork to what that actually is, and then what her application is in her process when she's working with people.
It's Netflix and Amazon. But
okay.
In case you guys want
to
go
We're not
check
sponsored
it out,
in any way.
I'm not even going to mention, because you'll find them quite easily. But twin flame, right? So twin flame, like the first phrase that came to me long before twin flame was, of course, soulmate. And to me, that they were almost synonymous for a while. But here's like, as we evolve, we come into new awarenesses and new ways of seeing something that says, oh, actually, I don't believe that anymore. This is how I feel this is. Twin flame, soulmate. Now, here's like the distinction, or might be the distinction, but twin flame and soulmate. So soulmate is said to be that perfect someone for you, that you will go through your life with this life partner, this person you end up finding, whether it's male, female, them, whatever you go for is that person that you just see the light in them because they see the light in you, and your flames connect. So soulmate has evolved a little, right? Because sometimes you could have friends that are soulmates, right? Your tribe, your soul tribe is a grouping of people that you usually travel in lives with. And then we have soulmate could potentially be that you have a life partner, and then for some reason it ends, whether they've moved on in life, whether they've crossed over, whatever it is, then you meet a new soulmate that you travel through life for a little or a long time. Some people have it all their life. Some people have it for a little while. Anyway, so then we get into twin flame, and that's said to be that person that no matter what, that's the other half of you. Like the universe created this hole, right? Not this hole, but this circle of you. And they split the circle in two and said, here you are, here you are. And sorry, I keep messing with hubby's mic. Sorry.
I can't edit that out if you hit it when you're talking.
Oh my goodness. I apologize, everyone. So, twin flame. Now, the belief is that this person is a magnet for you, but not until you have experienced everything you needed to experience to that point. There's never not going to be a point where you don't meet. Eventually you meet, you marry, you hang out, or you are with them for a week or a month or a few years or your whole life. Again, right? Similar to soulmate, but it's that person that the universe said, no one can be that person but this person for you. Some people believe that that's going to happen no matter what in this life, in their life. Other people believe that no matter what, this other person is on the other side and you are here. And then when they're on the other side and you're here, they guide you. And then you switch. Like, you might switch. So you die, you go to the other side, you live on the other side, and then they come in, are incarnate in life, and then you're guiding them. This is what someone believes, right? Then, another step to this, some other energy incarnations of this kind of twin flame energy could be that they are in one partner and then for some reason it doesn't work out, but that energy, that essence of them jumps into a new partner and you're always still with that twin flame. I don't think that one answer is correct, period. It's never been just one answer for anything, really, right? There's always been many solutions, many ways, many avenues leading to the same, many paths to the same. I think they're all true. It could be soulmate. It could be twin flame. They could be on the other side. They could be with you. You're about to meet them. They could be just for a week or a month or a year. Like, I think they're all true. But one thing that's more important than anything I just said is no one can tell your heart. No one can tell you who you connect with but you. No one. 100%. Someone could say they feel it. They might get chills and they could have a guidance that that person could be a good fit, but they will never 100% be able to say that person is your twin flame. They might have a very strong feeling of it, but only you can be the person to say that. No one knows. Your soul always knows the truth. So just know that and always bring the power back to you, not someone else. You are empowered to make that decision. It has to feel, you have to feel it in your heart center, not your head. Drop into the heart center and you'll feel this amazing connection. I have to tell you, when I met hubby after going through many, sorry, I'm still talking. When I went through many relationship patterns, and I'll say briefly, like, right, I went from chronic liars, alcoholics, cheaters, like all the things in like different embodied beings. And I would end those relationships and finally say, no, thank you. And then I finally just said, no, thank you to like all those patterns. And then the universe said, okay, are you sure? Let me just give you one more shot. And then they put every nuance of old past patterns in relationships that I went through in one person. The chronic lying, the alcoholism, the stalking, the everything. And once I was aware of it, I was like, no thank you, universe. Thanks, but no thanks. I'm moving forward. A year later, like I took a year of just enjoying myself, getting to know me again, and really like enjoying my own company. A year later, I meet hubby. And when I met him, there was no emotion in this. I looked into his eyes and I knew. There was just a knowing. That's my husband.
I'm the prize. For all the shit I talk, every once in a while I get a gem in there. No, thank you. I don't know what to say, Margaret. On the podcast.
Oh, well. So it's lovely that you will get to do the audio and sound and video, rather, editing. Yeah,
I won't edit anything you just said. That was great. I wish I could be as eloquent. But, I like well, to be fair, like when we got married, it was not. It was what 14 months later, and it wasn't our first marriage, either one of us. So you would think there would be more like, but caution or hesitation, but like I had the same feeling in that like there was an atmosphere of trust right away. I think that's what it was the most. Like, yeah, obviously there was an attraction, but there was like we just clicked right away. We were able to have conversations like we're having here, that this isn't the kind of conversation everybody has all the time. And again, it was just kind of like, well, what have you heard about this? What have you heard about that? And we both like weirdo stuff. So, you know, like it's not weirdo stuff, but you know, the topic of twin flames, for example, like for me, I look at like the quantum theory that every time consciousness has a thought and dreams up something new, or has, you know, makes a decision, it creates a new fractal in the multiverse. And like that, all that, like, I'm not saying anything new here, but like, it's hard for me to say that there's any one true twin anything. Like, I think you pick your destiny, but I think that all the possibilities that can happen do happen, and so everything will come to fruition anyway. So you're just kind of like taking the ride when you inhabit this meat puppet and you get into the consciousness of your life in this form for the 80 some odd years, hopefully, if you're lucky.
96.
At least now. Yeah.
150.
Science is getting better. But my point in all that is, it's like you're choosing your path. I don't know that anything that, even if you have some kind of forethought or intuition, I think you're just kind of like sensing that there's those other, like, I don't think time is a part of reality. Like, we sense it because that's part of how our brain interprets information and feeds us to us, so we can, like, oh, that's how our senses feed it to our brain processes it, and then we kind of think on it, and then we get our ideas from past, present, and future. I don't think that's the nature of reality at all. But when we're in this reality and this consciousness, and we are taking whatever ride we're on, and we start to sense those other things, you know, there's all kinds of theories about what that really is. But at the end of the day, you're still making a choice as to what information you're going to follow and how you're going to proceed. And folks, all information you get is third hand, unless you're doing the investigative reporting yourself. That's why I'm not happy to turn over any angle of whatever thing there is to try to get a good idea of what it really is, instead of just picking one that you like and going with it. But in all that, I think that there are probably, like, if we're all coming from the same source consciousness, right? Whatever people call God, or, you know, there's a million religions about this, right? Or just thought processes about this. But like, when we're individuals in our bodies, in our lives, so I'm talking to you right now, you know, the zoom out thing is that we're all part of the same being. But when you zoom in on an individual level, and you're having your experience and I'm having my experience, I think sometimes there are, if whatever the universe is a series of errants and currents and eddies and the whole cosmic flow thing, I think a lot of those currents are kind of bumping up against each other. So if you do believe in like multiple lives and seeing each other throughout different lives, and you're just trying it as your consciousness raises through each lifetime you live, I think that's absolutely possible. And I do think you get to choose in the state that you're experiencing now. I don't know that there's, like, in fact, having the foreknowledge of that actually changes any possible predestined future, because you're aware of it. So, you know, that's the whole loop, like the chicken and the egg. But anyway, so I think there's aspects to the twin flame topic that definitely speak truth, but I think you still kind of get to decide who it is you want and don't want. And there's a lot of people that get stuck with people they shouldn't be with because they've been told they're their twin flame, which is kind of what the documentary was about. People monetarily benefiting from pointing people in certain directions didn't really care if that was for them or not. So you still have to make, you know, you have to own the decision, and then be honest with yourself and that other person. If you really feel like you said earlier, sometimes the journey is finite in this life. That doesn't mean they're not going to bump up against each other another time. And if you believe in multiple lifetimes.
Yeah, and like, to get back to the unethical guidance, I'm trying to find the
good
right
choice of words.
Nice words for this. Unethical guidance from your teachers. They're out there for, as Don was saying, all kinds of things. For this particular one, it's like, you're vulnerable, and you're looking, right? These people who are going to twin flame guides, they're looking for that love of their life, and there's no like roadmap. There's nothing that helps them find the way, because there really isn't. It's find yourself, love yourself, do the things that make your heart sing, and you naturally gravitate to that right person. But when someone is saying, if you do this thing, they will come. It's not always just one thing, right? But if they're telling you something and your whole body says no, you get into a deep depression, you feel your low energy and this ick, but you're still trying to see them as this on a pedestal person who's going to guide you, so must do it. No, that's your whole being saying, stop the bullshit. Stop listening to them. Start listening to yourself. Start getting happy again. Get out in nature, wipe it clean, and start fresh. Don't listen to anyone that's going to make your energy vibration go sink down into the depths of despair. You need to, if you're feeling good, you're on the right path, right? If you're feeling like, right, you're on that right path. Yes, we're going to go through challenges, but what I'm talking about is when someone says, do this, that's going to get you there. But everything in your being is saying, oh my God, I don't want to do that thing, but they said I should. That's because we put someone, a teacher, on a pedestal. Never put someone on a pedestal. They're human too, and they make mistakes. And once they do, you're going to see it and you're going to say, shit, how did I put them so up here? They're my equal, even if they're deep into their own shadow shit and offering it up to the world and trying to gather some sort of monetary means from it, whatever it is. Like, I've made the mistake with prior teachers of letting them tell me things. And when I finally spoke my truth, then I was berated for speaking that truth, which, by the way, is still my truth today. And then, like on a public forum, and then it made me sad. It made me cry. I was crying on Don's shoulder a decade or so ago about this, thinking, how could they think that of me? Don't they, la, 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 whatever it was. But then it wasn't about them. I put them on a pedestal, and then they showed me their human side, and that's okay. But I needed to not give them my power and still listen to my truth. So my lesson from that was more valuable than what they taught, which was listen to my truth, not someone else's. Always check in with your truth first, and then go with what they say, see what they say, see if it rings true. But you always go back to what is true to you, just like that Buddha saying. If it rings true to you, great. If not, leave it behind.
Yeah, and you could either leave it behind or just accept it. It is for what it is. Like, things might still be kind of, I keep saying the phrase, in your orbit. Like, you can't control the circumstances around you all the time. But I think the same is true for whether you're talking about a romantic relationship or any relationship. It's like two individuals that can or cannot coexist together. And that becomes more apparent with time sometimes. But at the end of the day, like, in my past, I was more of a nice guy. And I'm not saying I'm not a nice guy now, but what I'm saying is, like, I was quick to give someone the benefit of the doubt and trust them first, even if I didn't learn to listen to myself until probably later than I should have, where I realized after making several missteps because I didn't trust my gut and followed somebody else that wasn't the path to go. But then you still learn from that. But my point is, like, I think one of the reasons we kind of knew within a year we were going to be together for a while was because we knew we weren't really dependent on each other. We had a kind of our own lives, but we knew we could coexist, and that worked fine. And of course,
we were still our individual beings, but we meshed well together. The
parts that become codependent are like choices. You like being codependent in certain ways, but it's not giving the farm away. If somebody's, put it this way, if somebody is with another person and they sense that they're the alpha in the relationship, and then they start to think, might not even be malicious, but they just see that when it comes to the conversation between the two people, they typically get their way, and then it just becomes assumed that that's the way people are going to go. And then later on, other things start to seep into that formula, and before you know it, somebody's up here, somebody's down here, just like you said with the whole pedestal thing. And it's like, no, it should be a partnership. It should be two people who mutually, respect each other. And that's the same, like I said, whether it's a romantic relationship or any other kind of relationship. And when you see that somebody's not giving you the respect that you deserve, then it's like maybe you can't avoid them in life, but like you can just assume that, okay, well, you have a more accurate read on that, so you know how much of yourself to allow that person to invade or cross those boundaries. You have to make the boundaries clear. And
yeah, you work together, you communicate, and if you're meant to stay together, those adjusted boundaries continue, and they're cool.
That could be done in subtle ways too. It's like, doesn't have to be a fight, but it's just like, but you have to respect yourself as much as respect the other person. And that's not always an easy thing to do, especially if you're hurting or you've had experienced, where you feel like you've made mistakes or made wrong choices. But again, you're still in control of the ride. You're still in control of what you can do. But when somebody else is trying to control not just themselves, but everybody around them in their little ways, like, they might not even be aware that they do that, but that's something where you just have to recognize that that's what it is. And, you don't have to have necessarily a big confrontation about it, but you have to allow yourself the ability to step aside when you see that train coming. So, yeah, it's all about choices. So
I was just looking at the mug that was gifted to me a few years ago from my older sister, Jenny. And it was just... the saying on it that I haven't read in quite a while, but it says, live less out of habit and more out of intent. So that really plays into all topics, but what is your intention? Fine-tuning your intention towards a partnership. When you feel like, I'm ready. I feel like I am really... It's not that I am needy. It's not that this will make me whole, because when you search outside of yourself to feel whole, it may not work out as you would like. But when you see that you are whole here within you, because each of us have a divine feminine and a divine masculine half. So once you feel, balanced enough, we're not always going to be, right? I'm in a female body. I have just a pinch more femininity. Don's and he has a little more masculinity. There are some people who are very balanced in both. What'd you say?
It's just a little.
Some people are very balanced in both already. And it's just coming into whatever alignment and balance is right in your being, whatever that is. And then with your intention saying, nope, I refuse to have anyone in my life that's going to be that, whatever that is. Like, you have your list of filtering out, but then you have a list of a few things where you're like, I'd love it if they could, like, talk about aliens. Dawn and I talked about aliens in every topic under the sun the first night we met. But it was aliens, it was spirituality, it was connection, it was everything. We met. It's funny because he came into the place where I work. I worked as an energy healer, psychic reader, and he came in never having experienced that personally for himself, energy healings, to solicit
Reiki.
a website. And I was already doing the website for the owner. But she said, hey, let's barter. I didn't meet him at this point. Let's barter. And my web gal has a question that maybe you can help her answer, and then we'll do an energy session for you. So he comes in, we do the energy session. I know he's my husband. And then he comes to my house. We chat for hours till like 1 a.m. He had to move the appointment of that actual energy healing session from like a Saturday to a Tuesday. And on that day happened to be, when he moved it to, summer solstice, full moon. Very auspicious, beautiful evening. So full moon, we were talking up the whole night. He didn't leave till 1 a.m. But it was really, really cool. But like, what do you want in a partner and what don't you? Like, right? Filter that stuff out. All the old past patterns. Think about it. What relationships have you had so far? What have you gone through? And what have you said, no more of that. That kind of thing, right? And then say, I would love this, this, and this. You might not get everything on your list, and that's okay. The point is for your frequency and vibration to be in alignment with the right divine partner for you, that your goal is to make it a lifelong partner, perhaps, right? With that intention, and then you surrender to what will be, will be.
No, we just got on, and it was kind of like, oh, you're into UFOs and the paranormal and things like that too. And it's like, I don't know, I'm not like a diehard anything, except maybe musician probably.
Just interested in the expansion of the universe.
Yeah, you can't just talk about stuff like that with everybody, or at least, this is like what, 2005, and it's not like there wasn't internet or anything like that, but it was just like, it wasn't common to have deep dive conversations with people. I don't know, maybe that's not true. I've been to some parties where you actually did go down to deep dives. Like in my youth, I've had the fortune of having a lot of friends that I could converse like that with. And but when I found you, it was kind of like I knew that, just like one of my friends that I would get on with, but you happen to be you as well. So
I happen to be me.
Yeah, but it was kind of like, all right, so you realize that you've got common interests, and it's not the type of person that you meet every day that has those kinds of interests. But it was also an enjoyable conversation, and I felt like, you were getting back what you were putting in, and vice versa. So it was,
yeah, and we meshed.
Yeah, I'm sounding clinical.
And by the way, there are so many people out there that don't feel the need to have a partner and have no desire to look for it, and if it happens, great. But they're happy. They're living life.
That's the other thing too. We weren't really looking.
Not everyone in our lives, like not everyone needs a partner or wants a partner, and they're just happy and going through their life. And a lot of I've heard a lot of Scorpios tend to be that way, but right, it's just the way it's meant to be. Everybody's life is different. Everybody's length of life is different. Everything they experience. And we are just one drop in the ocean, and all of us together make up that beautiful expansion, connection, wholeness, the universe.
I have to say, as part of that too, just to add to what you laid down the groundwork of the story, like when I was going door to door into businesses and offering website strategic website packages for small businesses in the area. That's what I was kind of like I had just come out of school. I just became a dad, within a couple of years of that. And it was just kind of like, oh, you got to start writing your ticket, I was just making different choices about what I wanted to do. So I was kind of in a adventurous kind of mindset anyway, because it takes kind of balls to go into businesses and say, strike up a conversation with the owner. Like for me, I just go into places I'm interested in and can legitimately say, hey, I like what you got going on here, and not have it be a sales pitch. It was like, as I was in the mindset of, let's just see what happens. Duck into a store and talk to the first person you see, and if they don't shoot at you, maybe you have a conversation. But during that course of that day, I wasn't looking for somebody to be with or date or anything like that at the time. It was just, I was focused on making new professional decisions. But like with that creative energy and the just let's see what happens and having a sense of adventure about it. And I didn't run into you the first day, just like you said. I ran into Louise, who then talked to you, and then we, she and I talked about Reiki, and I was like, oh yeah, I know what it is. I've heard a lot about it. I've read some books, and I'm into maybe some ancient philosophies and cultures that are a little more open to that. But like, I haven't talked to anybody before that can talk about it in person from an educated, perspective. And so she and I had a good conversation, and then we had the website conversation. She's like, well, I do have somebody that's working on my website, and but we've got some questions, like we need to make some new decisions about things, and there's a technical thing. And so she connected us in that way. But it was when we actually got together, she had a feeling that we might be a match, and she was thinking that in the back of her mind. But when we showed up to meet, it was like, for me, it was kind of like...
Yes, because I don't remember if I told you this. She and I would occasionally do readings on each other when we had time and we were waiting around and just hanging out, which is fun. And she felt that she knew she would be introducing me to my husband, my right person for me. And I was like, okay, if it happens, great. Whatever.
And she got me.
And then she did.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No.
The right guy walked in after I left, but you were...
And yeah, so like, and any marriage you get into, right, it's going to be a communication back and forth. It will be challenges. It won't always be like sunshine and
it's
roses.
Rainbows and unicorns.
I would love it to be that way, because I love that. But there's challenges. It's life. But you make it through those challenges, and then you start to really grow together over the years. And you either grow apart or you grow together. And for me, I feel like we've grown together and even more than ever before now. And now we live in Sedona where we eloped, which is freaking amazing. So I'm psyched about that. But we're still growing. We still have goals. We want to do this podcast and share. And we're just going to, evolve as we go and play where we can and show you what all the fun things, express what we can so that we can help, like on my particular path, just being a teacher, a guide in all the spiritual things. That's one of my passions, to share with everyone, help them, guide them along the path. If there's anything that I can offer that helps someone, then yeah.
Yeah, and this kind of ties together with the whole. So I'll just talk a minute about like the concept of what if you haven't seen the documentary. Like we're kind of like pretty far down into this, so we'll try to tag things a little bit better as we go. But I just wanted to say that we've both seen the best and worst of each other. Probably like it's what happens when you're just together for years and years, and but we're both glad to be here. But I think that. When somebody says this person's right for you, and that's the predestined twin flame concept, this is where I want to kind of bring it back to the whole concept of the twin flame thing. So the documentary was, there's this couple that started out as kind of like a podcast, right? So I want to say right now, we're not trying to create a cult.
They just offered classes.
Yeah, they offered these classes, but what happened was that the thing caught on, and they were talking about the concept of the twin flame, where they said there's a divine feminine and a divine masculine, and two halves of the whole come together, and it's the twin flame thing. And that's an ancient concept. It's but pop culture will spin things into different versions of something, and it's just, I guess, natural course of things. But when something catches on and you realize you're getting attention for it, and you're starting to monetize that. And then you fast forward, a few years, and you've grown that thing. And then you realize when people are being outright abused by these people and they're drunk on their own power, and that's what you have to watch out for. So I just kind of want to bring it back to don't let something like that abuse by one person dissuade you from exploring a topic that comes up in conversation. Like for me, if I watched that documentary and I'd never heard the concept before, the next time I heard somebody on a YouTube video talking about twin flames, I'd be like, here we go. Right? So I want to kind of bring that back to obviously we talked about our relationship. I hope you're still with us. We have our beliefs about what that means to each other. And to me, that's that can be a flux thing that we just choose to be together. And, that can be very much a twin flame concept because we have different aspects that complement each other and contrast its counterparts. But we're also willing to entertain the idea if somebody came at us with a new concept. Maggie reads a lot about different things like twin flame concepts, where she'll say, hey, I heard a new thing the other day, and it was I've never heard of that. So I read up on it, and it's fascinating, and either you get on board or you don't. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, when you hear something if you come across a documentary like that and realize that there are some shysters that we've had to navigate in our world, you have to realize that there's some people that either they're trying to monetize something and maybe twist something into a narrative that you're not necessarily benefiting from. We've seen people like that. We've come across people that just maybe they're not 100% on target with their how they see things. It's they might be believing something, drinking their own Kool-Aid a little bit. We've seen some, but there are a lot of good people out there too, and sincere people, and a lot of people that embrace topics that might not be talked about every day in contemporary culture, but have been around for hundreds of years, if not millennia. And so I don't know if I understand where that came from. You came across it.
I don't know where it came from either. Like you said, it's an ancient concept. It's a concept that people, that when they are born, they might see happy couples and say, I want that. So it could have just started from their own desire for love anyway. And it could also go way deeper into their desire for connection, for someone that sees them as the most special person in the world, and someone they see likewise as the most special person in the world for them, and they have that special connection of love at the core of everything, the connection that we feel because we have this veil over us before we, you know, head on back into the universe and join everyone. We have a veil of forgetfulness, so we don't have that full-on connection to the divine that we had prior to incarnating, and we want that. That desire is always there, and we find that with those unique friendships that last a lifetime, and those loving partners that can see, and our twin flame is our mirror. Twin flame or soulmate, however we see it, they're our mirror, and they will show to us all the love and light we should be showing to ourselves, but also they will show to us our shadow self, and they will help us by showing it to us, and or like they could embody that shadow part of you, so then a part of you will dislike that person, and then you have to say, oh crap, you know what, I do that too. I didn't like it in that person, and now I know, guess they were mirroring right back to me what I've done. But that's right, they will mirror to you, but they will also help guide you and show you love and lift you up. If they're not going to be the person to fall into that lifts you up, they're not the right person in the end, right?
Yeah, and that doesn't have to be a like, I have trouble, like there's obviously you just kind of evolve and go through time and people come in and out of your lives. Like that's one thing. But it's hard for me, like, you know, like when you have family, you get most of the time one dad, one mom, or one somebody that's brings you up, and it's like they are who they are. Same thing with siblings, and sometimes even with friends. But if they stand the test of time, it's kind of like you just embrace them for who they are and who they aren't, and hope they do the same with you. But they might still be like, it's hard for me to like, for those people, it's hard for me to say I can't talk to you again. But some people have unique experiences where that has to be the case, and that's unfortunate. But I think with what you're saying,
and we'll probably wrap this up, right?
Yeah, and a couple of, yeah. I think that's good.
Yeah, because I don't want to drive this to the ground.
I was just gonna say, like, thank you for like summarizing the concept of the twin flame concept, because again, they're kind of like keywords, buzzwords, like people Google things and things come up in the order that it's presented to you. So you may or may not, like the first thing that might come up might be the Netflix documentary, but there might be something in the concept of the twin flame. I think you explained it perfectly when you said somebody that's in your life with whom they can reflect your best and worst, and you're doing the same for them. And for better or worse, as long as you're not being disrespected or abused in some way, of course, there's obviously reasonable exceptions for everything. Mm-hmm. But that twin flame, I think the purpose of the concept, I think it's, you said, you know, you weren't sure where the story came from, and, you know, me neither, but like, I think the message is more important than the messenger. And the message in that is that if you find that person that they through thick and thin, it really is. Like, maybe that's your person. And you know what? People sometimes together for decades, and then they just evolve apart. But anyway, that's a pretty good synopsis of what we wanted to get to in terms of, like, we were enthralled with the documentaries because it was just, yeah, there's some characters out in the world. And, you know, we'll probably talk about a lot of heady stuff on this podcast. But just know that, like, in our day-to-day lives, like, we're as reasonable as the next person, and we've got pretty good bullshit detectors, and we've just, you know, again, you take the best and the worst, and you just kind of, I try to, as best as you can, not to make judgments. Yeah, like, you can make judgment calls on how you interact with somebody, but
it's disconcerting when you see people blatantly being unethical and downright, it's just malicious and wanting just so that they have money or whatever. Yeah. So I like, it's hard to see because I could never be that way, especially when it comes to like spiritual subjects, but as a whole in anything. But that being said, I just want to say thank you for enjoying our first podcast. Welcome to the new year, 2024, by the way.
Before we bow out, can I just add one more thing?
Okay, so, yeah, we can...
This is part of it. I know, I just wanted to say the red flags you look for, whether you're talking about a cult idea or anything, any kind of relationship idea, the red flags are if somebody is trying to, like, dissuade you through, like they know what you're saying, but they ask you to use different word choices so that they can control the conversation, or they shame you in some way before the conversation has been fully explored, or they just put themselves above you in terms of the chain of command in that relationship. And, you know, I tell my kids this going into a job interview: if you look up there and act like you need the job, it's the Shark Tank, right? But if you go in there saying like, hey, what can we do for each other, and it's mutually beneficial, and you play to each other's strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, like for example, like he in this particular twin flame couple, one of them says they channel God and they are to be listened to, and only what they say goes because God's talking to them. No.
When the power structure changes, it's time to start asking questions. So that's all I wanted
God
to say
talks
about
to
that.
everyone, by the way, but your heart is a part of that compass for your soul, and in God and Jesus, whatever, like you are your compass. Someone else can give you guidance. They can never tell you what to do.
Yeah, I'm not here to convert anybody, and when somebody's like, I'll listen to anything somebody has to say, and then actually I want to hear people out, because then I can know who the characters are that I want my kids to avoid in the future. I'm just saying, those are the red flags that are out there. But great first podcast, Margaret.
Yes, thank you for enjoying our first podcast. Again, it's a 2024 year by the time this is posted, which is an 8 year in numerology, and that's the infinity symbol, right? If you put the 8 on sideways, so it's definitely connected. And the 8 is also abundance, success. That's what's in store for all of us this year. And Mercury is going direct on January 2nd, so we'll have a little breath of fresh air there. And as above, so below. It is the Magician and Tarot. You're going to be able, we're manifesting with a little more ease. And many of us, right? And I kick off the new year by launching my own personal program, and it's called Shakti Energy, and it will be for 7 months, March through September, and we're going to go through different frequencies of vibrations of energy streams to connect with. And in those energy streams, like joy, love, and twin flame is in there. I think it's in May, but you can go to my website, maggiesbliss.com/Shakti Energy, and you will get right there. And you'll be able to read up all about the classes, but we are going over what chakras are and what that means. We're going to go over how you meet your guides. It's all about manifesting with more ease and these energy streams that you can tap into. And with that, we will finish out those classes with a goddess activation. Many of them through Egyptian alchemy are coming in, Sekhmet and Hathor, goddesses that I have yet to have shared any activations out there with you guys. So this is brand new, which I'm very excited about. And then the second class is going to be Sound Healing and Gratitude Day. So I'll be offering a sound healing. We'll go through our gratitudes, but it'll also be a Q&A to ask any questions from the prior class. And then I'm also going through the Sabbats. Not all of them, only the ones that are happening within those 7 months with you guys. So that's 5 of them, like spring equinox and autumn equinox, Mabon, and Ostera is spring equinox. So we'll go into those and what that means and all of that awesome energy. And that's from the solstices and equinoxes, and then the halfway points in there for those. And I have to tell you, you'll be getting an amazing deal, because the final month in September, you're not only getting all of that, you're also going to be getting my 28-day soul coaching program in the 28 days of September, which is really going to help you, because that final month is shadow work. It is when we embrace the shadow work energy naturally, is the season of autumn, and 28-day soul coaching program is going to go through journal prompts. You're going to have exercises every day to think about, ponder, maybe do something if there's something to do. But you have layers and levels. You can take it one step at a time. But it's packed. So if you really want like your money's worth, this is the one. This is like an amazing course for you. I have a lot of people interested that just, we want, it's all about getting back to my roots, right? So that's how it came to me, was this energy needed needed to flow through back to our roots. The witchy, the shamanic, the goddess roots are all embedded within this. It's an integrated approach of everything that I've learned through now to share with you. We'll meet live. The classes are recorded. So I hope you can go, if it's calling, you'll feel it. If it's calling to you, go to the page and read up about it and see if you would like to sign up. I feel like there was something else I wanted to mention about that, but you can just hit me up for any questions that you might have. Don and I are both here anytime you have questions on the podcast. Please ask questions, make your comments, and give us topic ideas. We really want to head into this year refreshed, renewed, and share that energy with you guys.
The views and opinions expressed on the MegaloDon Podcast solely reflect those of the host at the time of the recording. We reserve the right to grow, evolve, and to change our minds about any subject at any point in time, after which new insights come into view. It is important that we continue to remain curious, discerning, and not cling too tightly to ideas which no longer serve us once we've pulled back the curtain and revealed their inadequacies. It is also vital that we continue to think deeply about our principles and not rest on our laurels once things are decided. We must continue to hold our truths to the fire and allow ourselves to hold each other accountable with open minds and hearts, regardless of perspectives or self-appointed moral authorities.